What's good in the hood YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here bringing you another video. Today I'm bringing you a video on Power Morphicon 2018. Now for those who do not know, Power Morphicon is going to happen in August of this year, and it's pretty exciting because today we actually got a whole bunch of guests announced. Now typically when it comes to Power Morphicon we get a guest announced every 2 weeks, and usually there are about 6 guests that are announced. This time around they decided to go way beyond that point of 6 guests. And I mean, sometimes they've had it where it's been 8 guests, but don't even joke this time. I mean, there's 21 new guests announced for February. So let's just say this much right now, I have a lot to talk about. So I want to go through the list by starting off with saying I actually have a tally of how many guests we have per season. And I also wanted to bring up this point that some of them are kind of doubled. So for example, like Jason David Frank, I did include him in Zeo as well as Mighty Morphin and also Dino Thunder. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to include those, that's fine. But as far as things go, you know, if you include them, then we have 4 actors from Mighty Morphin right now, 2 actors from Zeo, 4 actors from Turbo, 5 actors from In Space, we call it 2 actors from Lost Galaxy, 2 actors from Time Force, 1 actor from Wild Force, 1 actor from Ninja Storm, 2 actors from Dino Thunder, 1 actor from SBD, 1 actor from RPM, 1 actor from Dino Charge, 1 actor from a fan film related to Power Rangers, 1 actor from VR Troopers, and the 6 actors from Power Rangers Ninja Steel. So we have a lot of actors, and we really don't have that many seasons that we're missing as far as having representation. Think about it this way: we only are missing Lightspeed, and then Mystic Force through Jungle Fury, which is what, 4 seasons, and then we're missing Samurai / Super Samurai, so that's 6 seasons, and Megaforce / Super Megaforce, which is maybe 8 seasons. So we have 16 seasons already represented, and more likely than not, we're going to have the actors from Samurai. And as far as Lightspeed goes, there's usually at least 1. And believe me, there will be someone, I would imagine, from one of those 3 other seasons from in the Disney era. I would imagine maybe Dwayne Cameron, who played Operation Overdrive's Tyson, or the Mercury Ranger, might show up. And we'll see from there. It's hard to say for sure. Jungle Fury is kind of harder to say for sure. And Mystic Force, it's usually less common, but we've had actors from Mystic Force show up. We did have one 4 years ago show up, and I remember meeting him, and he was super nice. And that actor was the actor who played Xander. I actually met him. He's really cool. But let's go on to the actual list itself. I'm talking about all these other people and talk about what we got announced today, because that's what we're here for. Well, for starters, we got 21 guests. So first guest is Carla Perez, who played Rita Repulsa in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. Now, for those who do not know, she was not the voice actor, but she was the suit actor for Rita Repulsa. She was mainly used in the 2nd and 3rd season and also the movie, and some of Zeo, of course, because that makes sense, because they had to create original footage, especially with Lord Zed being introduced. You know, originally her character was a Japanese character that they decided to do voiceover work with. But because of the fact that they decided to keep her character going and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers going, they had to keep using her. So that rather than having to use old footage 50,000 times over and over and over again, they decided to use original suit actor footage using Carla Perez, which is cool. And I actually did meet Carla last time she was at Power Morphicon. So she's really nice, and you should definitely look into meeting her. She might even dress up as Rita Repulsa. She has done that before, and that's always cool to see. So then moving on to the next guest, we have Sabrina Liu. She played Scorpina, and she actually has shown up in costume as Scorpina before, which is very cool. And that's nice to see that she's showing up again. Then we have one of the Alpha 5 suit actors. Now, for those of you that know, Alpha 5 has had several suit actors. I think there's been at least 4 suit actors if you include the movie one. And let's just say this much. We got the first one, which is really cool. So she is Rami J. Sharf. And in the past, we've actually had a couple of suit actors who have played Alpha 5 show up before, so this isn't an unusual thing. What would be really cool is if we got the original voice of Alpha 5 to show up, which is Richard Horvitz, because he also did the voice of Invader Zim, if you've ever watched that show, and he's super popular. People would love to have him return just because he's cool. He has shown up before. He showed up at the 2014 one, and I still remember that one pretty well. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him if he does show up. I would be very happy about that. So moving on to our next guest, we have Derek Stephen Prince. Now, many of you will think to yourself, who is that? I don't know who that is. Well, he's a voice actor, so that's why you probably won't know him. He voiced Auric the Conqueror, and he also voiced Elgar from Power Rangers Turbo. Auric was from Power Rangers Zeo, and Elgar is from Power Rangers Turbo, and also In Space, because he was in Space as well. So that's cool, and he'll probably be at the villains panel, and he might even do some other stuff, which is neat. So that's definitely nice to see. I would love to hear him do the voice of Elgar, because Elgar is just a really interesting voice. Then we have our first Turbo and In Space Rangers, which are Solomon Ward, who played TJ from Power Rangers Turbo and Power Rangers In Space, and he was the red Turbo Ranger and the blue In Space Ranger. He was also in the Wild Force Forever Red special as the Turbo Red Ranger, and in Super Mega Force he played the In Space Blue Ranger, which is cool for the Legendary Battle episode. So that's really neat. Now we move on to our next actor, which is Tracy Lynn Cruz, which is cool. She played Ashley from Power Rangers Turbo and Power Rangers In Space. She was the yellow Turbo and In Space Ranger, and she's super nice, and I definitely want to see her. So that's awesome, and that's great to hear that she is showing up. I mean, I'm happy, just in general, to hear all these people showing up. Then we have Carol Hoyt, or Hot. As far as spelling goes, it's Hoyt. So I never know how to pronounce her last name, so that's why I'm just spelling it for you guys in case you want to know. And she actually was known for playing Demetria and also Divatox in Power Rangers Turbo. So that's really cool to see that she's showing up. Now, for those of you that know, Divatox has actually had two actresses that have played her. There's Carol, and there's also Hillary Shepard. She's the one that's probably more recognized, Hillary Shepard, but I'm sure that people will be happy to see Carol show up as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Hillary does show up too, but we'll have to wait and see if that does end up happening. Don't know anything for sure right now. But let's keep going. From here, we end up having Christopher Kamen Lee, which is awesome, of course. Christopher Kamen Lee played Andros, the In Space Red Ranger, very popular Ranger, and he's a really cool actor. I've met him before. I've taken a picture with him. He's pretty nice. He's fairly serious, but if you get to know him, he can be pretty light and pretty easygoing. You know, he's just a fairly serious person in certain situations, and you know, he's a little bit harder to deal with sometimes, but I think he'll be nice to see. You know, I'm happy with that. So then let's move on to Melody Perkins. Melody Perkins is awesome. Who doesn't love Melody? She played Astronema in Power Rangers In Space and Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Was also Corone, and she also was the Lost Galaxy Pink Ranger. So Astronema, Corone, awesome. Who doesn't love that? That's great to see that she is showing up again. She did show up last time, which is great to know that we're getting her again. Then we got Patrick David. Now, many of you will say to yourself, who is Patrick David? Well, Patrick David was actually Psycho Red, which is really cool. I'm really happy about that. So he played Psycho Red when they were in their human forms. I think he also did the voiceover work for him when they were the Psycho Rangers, which is cool. So plenty of people will definitely want to get in line to meet him because, I mean, it's one of the coolest Ranger groups ever, the Psycho Rangers. I mean, everyone loves the Psycho Rangers. Come on. You know, those are awesome Ranger designs, and people just love them, so that's really cool to see. So, yeah, Patrick David. And it's his first convention appearance, so that's really cool. So definitely someone that you want to take up the opportunity to meet, because you never know if he'll be doing this consistently or if this is his one time doing it. Because usually actors that are a little bit more obscure that do roles like that don't tend to do a lot of conventions other than the big ones like Power Morphicon and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. If you're going, definitely make an effort to go to him because he's not an actor to expect to be at a lot of conventions. He'll probably be at a handful at most. So keep that in mind. So then we have Serena Vincent, and that's cool. She is our Lost Galaxy Yellow Ranger. She played Maya in Lost Galaxy, which is really cool. And, she was also in Lightspeed for the Trakeena's Revenge episode. And she's been in a number of other shows and movies. She was in Cabin Fever, and she was in CSI and Bones, and a couple of other shows like 2.5 Men she was in. So, she's done a bunch of stuff. She's been in Stuck in the Middle, which is a current show on Disney. So that's cool. And, people love Maya. Maya's a very popular character, so that's always great to see that she's showing up. She's shown up to a lot of conventions in the past, so, it's good to know that we are getting her again to show up to this convention, which means we actually have 2 Lost Galaxy Rangers confirmed, and we also have 3 In-Space Rangers confirmed, which is cool. So, keep going. We then have our first Time Force Ranger that's confirmed. And for those who do not know, Time Force is the one season where, it's pretty likely we'll get most of the cast showing up. Time Force is the one season that tends to have the most people showing up to begin with. So, expect it. Honestly, I'll say that much right now. It's not that unusual to see a lot of Time Force actors confirmed. But we'll have to wait and see for everything in general. It's still relatively early, and I don't want to say everything for sure, but I'm sure that we'll get a lot of them because that's just how things like this work typically. They also have certain guests that weren't announced in certain places, and I actually think the list is actually wrong because on other sites it says that there's another actor that got confirmed, and I don't know why it's not on the regular list, and that is another Time Force actor, which is awesome, which is Dan Southworth. Now, for those who do not know, Dan Southworth played the Quantum Ranger. So we have the Time Force Red Ranger who was Wes, and who was Time Force Red, and he also played Alex. And then we have Dan Southworth, who played Eric, the Quantum Ranger. So we have 2 of the Time Force Rangers confirmed to be showing up, which is really, really, really cool to know for a fact that that is happening. What else can I say? So moving on down the list, we have Kate Sheldon. Kate Sheldon, she played, She played Nadira in Power Rangers Time Force, which is awesome. She showed up last Power Morphicon, so this is actually her second convention to Power Morphicon. So that's cool. And she's just a really nice person. She has a lot of her personality that she had in the show in real life and how she acts in certain ways. And she's just nice. I definitely want to see her again. So that's cool. Moving on down the list, we have Anne-Marie Crouch. She is someone that I definitely would recommend meeting if you were going to this convention and you want to meet someone. She's so nice. I met her last time. We had a long conversation and she was so sweet, and we just had a great conversation together. She's someone that's just so personable, and you want to meet her, Just saying that right now. The website has an error where it says that this is her first appearance. This isn't her first appearance. She has shown up before at Power Morphicon. So keep that in mind. And that's great. That's really great. So then we move on to our one guest for Ninja Storm right now, which is Jorg Vargas. Now, Jorg Vargas was the Navy Thunder Ranger, or Blake, the Navy Thunder Ranger from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I'm hoping more Ninja Storm guests get announced. Ninja Storm is kind of one of those seasons where it's sort of we always hope for more guests, but we usually don't get them, and it would be great if we got more. The UK is actually having 3 of the Rangers show up at a convention, which that would be amazing if Power Morphicon had that situation happen. And those guests are Adam Tooman, Jorg Vargas, and Glenn McClellan, which are the yellow, crimson, red, and Navy Rangers showing up to a convention in the UK, which would be awesome if something like that happened here in the US for Power Morphicon. It would be also awesome if Sally Martin, who played Tori, and Pua Magasava, who played Shane, and Jason Chan, who played Cam, were to show up at Power Morphicon. But those are actors that are harder to get because they're all in New Zealand and they're usually a lot busier. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. It would be really great though. But we'll see. So moving on down the list even further, we get to a Dino Thunder actor, which is Jeff Perezio. Now, Jeff Perezio played Trent in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which is awesome. He's really cool. I've met him before, and I love the character that he portrays. And I also love his Japanese equivalent because, Abure Killer is just ridiculously awesome. But yeah, so Jeff Perezio, really cool actor, definitely someone you want to meet. Most likely, he will probably show up with Kevin Duhaney, I would expect, because typically it's the two of them that tend to represent Dino Thunder, but we'll have to wait and see. Nothing is set in stone yet, so it might turn out that he isn't showing up, but that is fairly typical that Kevin Duhaney and Jeff Perezio do end up representing Dino Thunder, but this time we actually have Jason David Frank, so we actually have 3 actors that could be representing Dino Thunder, or more if we can somehow get the other 3 to show up. We'll have to wait and see what actually... not the other 3, the other 2 to show up. We'll have to wait and see. So, moving down further, we have Ali Purett, and she played Sid in Power Rangers SPD, which is cool, and I'm glad to see another Power Rangers SPD. I'm glad to see a Power Rangers SPD actor is showing up. SPD does get occasionally a good amount of actors that do show up from it, so that's great to see Sid showing up. It would be nice if Brandon J. McClellan shows up, or maybe Chris Violetta shows up. Brandon J. McClellan played Jack, and Chris Violetta played Sky, so those would be neat. It'd be cool if we could see the other ones too. I don't know who's showing up this year. I know last time we actually had Mary, who was who played Z, but we'll have to wait and see what happens this year. At least it's good to see that we have one actor from SPD confirmed. So then we go to Mike Jen, who just showed up in Power Rangers Hyperforce now, and he's been in Power Rangers RPM. Mike Jen was Gem in Power Rangers RPM, so he was the Ranger Operator Series Gold Ranger, so that's really cool. And that's really neat to see that he's showing up, so that's something to look forward to. Then we have Dino Charge Red, which is Brennan Magia, who played Tyler, the Red Dino Charge Ranger. He was in Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge, so cool to see him. Typical for most cases when it comes to a season that just aired the prior year. So, for example, when Dino Charge was new, the Super Mega Force cast, pretty much all of them showed up. When Dino Charge was being announced, they had the Mega Force cast, and they also had the Samurai cast still there. So, in other words, when it comes to these seasons, it's not surprising if, let's just say, all 6 of the Dino Charge Rangers do end up showing up at Power Morphicon this year, because they're the veteran cast. If it were, say, the next series, then it's up in the air as to whether or not they're going to show up. So keep that in mind, but we'll have to wait and see what does end up happening. But that's something to always take into consideration, because Dino Charge, more likely than not, will have most of their cast showing up. Believe me, I definitely expect a good number of them to confirm to be showing up. So then we move on to Adi Shankar, and he actually was the producer for the Power Rangers film. Now, the Power Rangers film was this fan film that was made back in 2016 or 2015, I remember. And it was a big deal at the time. People were really, really excited about it. I remember the fan film pretty well. The image that I'll show with him is pretty interesting, and you might remember it too if you actually saw that fan film. It's pretty interesting to see. It was pretty dark and serious story, so that's cool to see. Then we move on to Michael Hollander, who played J.B. Reese in VR Troopers. Now, I don't really watch VR Troopers. I know it's a popular show, but he is cool. I know that he's one that people like to see and are excited to see, so that's nice to know. I'm not able to speak at all if you haven't figured that out right now. I'm excited. So I'd love to know your opinions. 28 actors now we have confirmed, which is very cool. Many seasons are represented. We still have 6 seasons that we are missing that are not represented so far, but that's not that hard to fix. And to be honest with you, if we just get one actor from Samurai and one actor from Megaforce, we basically have 4 seasons right there represented, and then we just need 2 more, which is actually not 2 more, 4 4 more. Actually, what was I saying before? I said 6. I meant to say 8 seasons. If we just get those 2, we only have 4 more seasons to get represented. Because all we're going to need is just Lightspeed, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, and Jungle Fury, which is 4 seasons at that point. That's not that many seasons. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, love to know your opinions. I know this video was a little bit longer. Again, 21 actors, so a lot more to talk about. Usually these videos tend to be about 10 to 15 minutes, but because of how many more actors there were, I had no choice in the matter. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.